Yo, back again. Welcome, Parental Advisory Podcast. We're here, another day, another dollar. This episode of Parental Advisory is actually sponsored by William Spice. Bam, you can check them out right here. You can find them on Instagram at Will, WILLYUM Spice, no underscores, or you could check them out on the website, www.williamspice.com. They are a husband and wife owned, fresh, all natural spices and seasoned blends.
Very dope.
Once again,
Yummy.
support Black business.
Let's go.
Yes, so we're back here again. We have Tiffany, Terrence, and Marquita joining us remote from Michigan.
It's
Murder Mitten.
cold in the
Murder
deep.
Mitten.
Dirty glove, baby. Boss up. Let me stop. But no, we're here today and we're just going to talk to you guys, as always, about positive tips, solutions, and situations that we all face as parents. So today, what we're going to talk about is the balancing of responsibilities of parenting, which is always a hot topic
It is.
because somebody always pulls their weight and somebody doesn't. So, well, not all the time. Sometimes they have a balance, but, you know.
Them 2%.
I know. But, you know, I really feel like that balance is something that we all kind of struggle with. Sometimes you have somebody that doesn't want to pull their weight, and you got somebody that wants to do the whole thing. In my experience, you know, currently I'm a co-parent, and I'd like to believe that we do a great job of balancing things out. You know, my ex-wife gave a great blueprint. You know, I'll be honest, I give her props.
That's true.
Yeah, great blueprint, and I just had to follow it. So I've amended things and made it work for me, but, you know, it served our daughter the best.
Yes,
That's what it's about, right?
That's what it's
exactly
about. It's about the kid. You put yourself and put your ego and your pride
To the
aside.
side.
To the side. So, you know, it's so many things that we could talk about, you know, when you start talking about balancing of responsibilities. But, you know, one of the main things, you know, once your kids start getting active and are joining sports or in school or daycare is that pick up and drop off.
Yeah.
So I know, you know, at one point my situation was different. You know, I would only have to pick up. I didn't have to really do any dropping off or whatnot.
Okay.
But as, you know, my daughter grew, she started doing swim, gymnastics, karate, and it was a mix of things. So we kind of pretty much took turns with who would pick up, who would drop off. But that's what worked for me. What have you seen for you guys have had to work, you know, in your situations with how you guys have handled kind of that pick up, drop off, take to school, all that good stuff?
Yeah.
You're fairly new, right?
Yeah, I'm saying I can go to this because it's balance is critical, right? And that's one thing that the benefit of actually having, you know, mother and father in the same household, having similar schedules. And so for the morning, it's worked for me. I can actually drop Landon off to daycare. It's only about a 15-minute commute opposite way at work. Adds to my commute time in the morning. I can listen to some podcasts. I can listen to some inspirational things before I go to the office and deal with the whole staff of people who come to my office every 10 minutes. So I think from a balance standpoint, you know, she picks him up in the afternoons. And usually that's our time to kind of say, okay, we're both here together now. We can do dinner together, or we can worry about the balance of food and things of that nature. We're not at the point of actually having any type of after-school activities just yet. But it's worked out great, and that's a blessing. It's just a benefit of actually having that. But like today, daycare was closed. So I had to take off work today.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the thing. That's a good thing to have. Because if you only have a single parent, sometimes you can't necessarily do that.
Tough.
Yeah.
And so I think that balance has been helpful, and I'm blessed to actually have that ability.
So let me ask you, since you're taking the baby to daycare in the morning, who is getting up and getting him or her? Him. Who is getting him ready?
Definitely she is. So
Definitely.
you know,
No hesitation.
I just know I need to be out the house by like 8:30, ideally. And so you know, he gets up at 6. And he wants to
Oh, Jesus.
come in the room.
He
He
going to work
wants to
with you?
literally come hang out in the bed and all that good stuff. So yeah, she feeds him and gets him dressed and everything of that nature. So when I come down and I'm getting ready, I grab his lunch and bottles and I get him out the house. So that's a blessing too, because I can't do that, guys.
Yeah.
So that's balance in itself.
it really is.
I can appreciate that. For me, let's see, as a married woman, we shared a lot of those responsibilities. I wouldn't say too often though. My ex-husband toured a lot, so I was home a lot. As a single woman now, I definitely do all of it. So I'm dropping off, I'm picking up, I'm taking to practice, I'm buying sports equipment, I'm doing a lot. With that being said, I got divorced 2.5 years ago. So my daughters were a lot older, more self-sufficient. So that helped a lot. With my 3-year-old son, he pretty much has 4 mamas instead of just one. Yeah, my daughters do a lot for him without me even having to ask. They just have that relationship. But I'm still the Uber, the family Uber, the ATM machine. I'm
Automatically Tiffany's money.
Right. At least you know. Now I'm a track coach. Anything that my kids want to do, if I have to YouTube or Google it, I'm going to figure it out. But I am definitely the go-to. I currently share custody with my son. So I have him 1 week, he has him 1 week. And we have something called a parenting plan when you go through divorce.
I know all about it.
So what I cover, or what I have a tiebreaker on, is education and health. And he has religion and any extra activities. So at 3 years old, my son is probably just going to get into extra activities maybe this time next year. So we haven't gotten there with him. Okay. But when that time comes, I totally want to be involved. So I don't care what week, if I have to be there. It really is not a budge for me, meaning it's not a bad thing. I'll do the work, So it's not a negative on my part. So I'm okay with taking the bulk of the energy or the work.
Do you ever run into like conflict? Like I know you have, your week set up. Is there ever conflict where somebody's like, well, I want to take them here this week, even though it's not my week or my day?
Unfortunately, we do not have the best relationship right now. So we are going through a custody change in this moment. So I will say, for me, for instance, his 3rd birthday, I struggle with that. I'm a mom that has 15-year-old daughters. I've never, ever missed a birthday. I've never missed a birthday of my kids, maybe a birthday party somewhere else, that kind of thing. So in saying that, I had a birthday party for my son on a Saturday. His birthday was on a Monday. I was not physically with him on Monday, and I was physically sick. Yeah. I was ill. I asked to take him for lunch, that kind of thing. So it's unfortunate. I'm praying through it, but I would hope in the future, it's going to get better. So the answer to that question is no. Yeah. I remember having a monster truck idea. My son is crazy about monster trucks. Right. He happened to have them on that Saturday. Hey, can I take him for a couple hours? Got no response. So it's unfortunate, but I would definitely say, when you're going through that kind of thing, don't be. It's really not about you. Yeah, when I say not about you, I mean disconnect your emotions from that. How you divorced, how you went through it, that kind of thing, because it heavily affects my son. Yeah. Heavily affects him. I just know the missed opportunities, that we could have had, even as a family unit. And it's unfortunate. So that is a battle right now. But when I have him, and I take full responsibility for him.
I mean, it's interesting you say about the taking yourself out of it, because I've gone through a divorce, and there was a situation a couple years ago where it was the 4th of July, and I was actually out of town, and my ex-wife wanted to take my daughter down to visit my family in Alabama, and I'm like, that's my family. You going for the holidays and blah, blah, blah. Lo and behold, that was the last time that my daughter would see my father, because he actually passed away that following September. Wow. So that kind of put it into perspective for me. Like, what? Although I was tightened in my feelings, my ex was really just trying to, let my child be with, her grandparents. And lo and behold, unbeknownst to me, that would be the last time that she would be able to, hold them and do all of that. So, like you said, sometimes, and I've learned, you do have to take yourself out of it and allow, the kid to get what they're going to benefit from the most.
And that's true, because you were probably on some island in Peninsula July 4th having a blast. Oh, right?
I know, I was in Chicago living my best life.
Best life. Take Chicago weekend.
Partying.
Navy Pier, just jumping.
And she's going to go take the baby to go see granddad.
Right. And I was tight about it, too. I was tight. I was like, yo, what are you doing?
I'm partying.
Right.
How dare you taking to see my
How
family?
dare you take them to see
while
my
I'm having a
family while I'm
blast?
having a blast? And she just ignored me and kept it pushing. But we're in a better place.
Great move.
Now, though. That's why I said, like, you know, for you, Tiff, I hope that, you know, time will prevail and that you will be able to. It will.
Yeah, it will.
I'm just going to keep speaking it.
It will. What about you, Kiki?
At single parent, I pretty much do it all, but we go by the whole, like, the village raises the kids. So between me, my parents, my brothers, everybody kind of takes a role, and godparents, everybody takes a role. Like right now, like my youngest one is with her godmother, my oldest one had to work. My mom picks them up and, you know, does things. So with my youngest one, her dad, I have the more flexible work schedule. So I'm able to do more. So I do the drop-offs in the morning, pickups, and all that other stuff. So with the flexible work schedule, I kind of do it. I've learned a long time ago that if I don't ask, nobody's going to do anything.
Hello.
So,
Right.
and just, you know, with both their dads, it's always been like, well, you didn't ask me. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you're right.
I struggle
So
with
if I ask, they typically come through. Like if I ask, they do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the first I take.
No, and that's huge too, the flexible, because, you know, personal experience, I have a relatively flexible schedule. I build my own schedule. My ex, I always joke with her because I be like, do you work? Because you always like texting and sending like random, you know, like stuff is always Zoe related. But I'm like, do you do any work? But it does help because there are times when, you know, for instance, like today, I'm technically Zoe's with me. I let her know like, look, this is what I'm doing. So can you, and you know, it works out. And there's times when, because I do live I live very close to Zoe's school, her, all of her activities. So there are times when my ex may be like, hey, look, I have this going on. Can you pick it up? You know, and I can do that. But that doesn't work for everyone. You know, everybody doesn't have that, you know, that privilege if you to do that. So
And that's another thing too. I know sometimes, say for example, you are busy and your spouse or baby's father or whoever, they're busy at the same time. How comfortable are you with other family members or other people of the support system or neighbors or friends to actually step in and do some of those drop-offs or take the practice? How comfortable are you just yet with your own kid?
I'm very finicky with my children. Very, meaning like even you saying that you're dropping the baby off at 1 to a daycare is like, you know, I had an at-home babysitter.
Look at you.
For my kids.
That's first world right there.
Baller.
Yeah,
right?
they had, I couldn't do it. I'm sorry. My son is 3, no daycare. I'm just real finicky.
Yes,
I would say I do another podcast in the same studio. And I think one time I was running behind and I called a really good friend of mine. But there's nothing else in this world that is as important as me being there for my kids.
Oh,
That's real.
So I can't say that I have been relying on anyone other than myself. But Kiki brings up a really good point saying if you don't ask, you know. Yeah. So I struggle with that. Like he says, I do a lot, and I feel like until I'm physically not able to do it, then that's just what, you know, that when that time comes is when I'm gonna face that. But for the most part, there's nothing that I have on my plate right now that was not meant to be on my plate right now, and I truly believe that. So no, I don't. I'm not comfortable and you know what? It's not that I'm not comfortable. A lot of it is comfortability, and the other half of it is this is my responsibility.
True.
Yeah.
So I know how some things can even be inconvenient for me. Sitting in 30 minutes of traffic just to get to pick your behind up, you know, and to bring you back. It's kind of like that's on me. I did that. You know what I'm saying? So I wouldn't want to put that on someone unless they ask. Now, if someone asks, in the relationship that I'm in right now, he's super helpful. He will actually stay at work longer so that he can not sit through traffic and be able to pick up my girls right after track practice. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's new for me. Yeah. These are not his children.
Yeah, because everyone's not gonna do that.
Yeah, these are not his children. So he'll have dinner prep, you know, things like that I'm not used to, but I don't ask.
This guy.
All right, he's a keeper.
But I don't ask these things. So I'm learning. And it's so funny that Kiki brought that up because that is a recent conversation. It's like, I didn't know. It's like, why wouldn't you know? Yeah. You know? And you just assume people know and they don't. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, I'll help. I can do this. You know, you don't, just let me know. And I don't. So I'm learning.
Yeah, it's wild you say that. And I'm glad you brought that up too, Terrence, because like in my situation, fortunately, my mother lives in the same city. So that's always an option. But there are times when none of us are available. And to be honest, like my ex is dating someone. And I actually said to her one day, I was like, what are we going to do if all of us are not available? And I actually brought it up. I was like, you've been with your guy at this point for some time. Like, I'm fine with if none of us are available, him picking Zoe up. And she actually said to me, she was like, well, I didn't think you would be cool with that. So I never said it. But it's the one that, like you said, if you don't ask, I mean, I'm fine with it. Y'all have been together for a while. I've met him. We've had conversation. He has kids of his own. Okay. So like, I don't, it's a rarity that it'll ever happen, but that needs to be a fail-safe,
Definitely.
I'm sorry. And even, and speaking from someone that was raised by a step parent, I hate to use that phrase, by a bonus parent. I learned more about love through him than I did with my own parents. Meaning, he wasn't obligated to be there for me. So when he did step up, it was like, man, you love me by choice. You love me because you want to be here. And I learned so much about myself and about, extending that kind of love and character to other people. So in saying that, I praise you for allowing him to step into that space, because Zoe needs to know that there are other people that love her that are not because they're her parents. You know what I'm saying? And I know you guys show her abundance of love, but I'm saying that to say I know my dad my stepdad, my bonus dad, made it a point to make it like, I don't just love your mom. I love you. I love you. I love you. And he made that a point. Until this day, they're divorced, other children, all that. And my daughters know him as granddad. Well, he taught them how to say G-pop.
G-pop.
Yeah, G-pop. And that's my dad. You can't tell me nothing about that. And I met him 11, 12 years old. So I was, on the older side. Yeah. But he made it a point to learn me, to know me. And that meant a lot for me. It wasn't just my family, but he taught me a lot of that outside love. When someone makes a choice on you, that's rock solid. So I commend you for that, and I think you two should. No, I dig it. I think you two should allow him in that space a little more, because that's awesome to have a bonus parent. I think that's an awesome thing to do. It's not a downplay at all. The fact that you guys even co-parent effectively is a beautiful thing. But on top of that, now they chose other people that I can now use as a back, he got my back too, she got my back too. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah, it definitely takes a village. But that's like a pop culture reference right now. We always talk about Jay-Z making a line about, Baby Future and having Russell Wilson to be there. So think about that. Right. But that's true. Because, sometimes those bonus parents can actually show you true affection and love that you actually were lacking beforehand. So, and that's real though. That's a blessing.
Yeah, that's cool, man. What do you think, Marquita, as far as, with you being more a single parent, kind of, I know you said it takes a village, but have you ran into situations where there's like nobody available and you have to like scramble to get somebody?
Or would you feel comfortable?
Yeah.
How long do you, I guess there's no time frame, at least not to me, but at what point are you comfortable allowing your spouse, your person to be there and your children rely on them?
I don't think it's a time limit, but I think it's definitely something that's been there. Like there's been, my oldest one, she's 14, she works. One day she was like, hey, I have a job interview. And I was like, how are you going to get there? It's tomorrow at work. I
Sound like me.
I'm not canceling clients so you can go to the job interview. And so I called my youngest one's dad, and he and I are not together. And I said, hey, like, she has to go to the job interview. And he was like, I got her.
Nice.
And he took her to the job, he took her and everything like that. So it's always been that way. And I don't even want to call him my bonus dad because he's just my dad. Like Raimi, I don't even know if how long it took you to realize that wasn't like my biological dad.
I thought it was.
Nobody knew. Like they just assumed like he was my dad. It wasn't. So they met my biological dad. They were like, oh, there's two of them.
Because you just always call him dad.
True.
Yeah, I do. I call him dad, and that's just what it is. My youngest one doesn't know that there's a difference. My oldest one was like 9 when she figured out that like one was actually my dad and the other one wasn't. She blew her brain almost exploded. We almost saw it. But yeah, I think it's definitely something to look at for everybody to like participate. Like I said, everybody in my family, they do, and that's just how we all are. You know, aunties, grandparents, uncles, cousins.
I think that's really important. My mother was really tight with me, and I guess I get a lot of that from her because I'm pretty finicky with my children. But I'm even finicky with like what friends come around my kids and that kind of thing. But I do allow them to socially be themselves, so I'm not like locked down. You know, you're not going nowhere kind of thing. But my mom was really like that, and my mother was really young when she had me. So later on in life, when she became more busy and in her 20s, she was like, "Dang, I got a kid." You know, I was at my grandmother's house quite a bit. So she, for the most part, raised me. I call her mom more. My daughters actually did not know that was not my mother until I told them maybe like 5 years ago. They actually thought my grandmother was my mother forever because she's just the one that's been a staple in my life for a really long time. My mother was more like my sister. You know, my mom had me when she was 15. So she had me really young. But in saying that, I had to unlearn a lot of things that my mother taught me while I was at my grandmother's house. Just like, you know, sitting and being to myself. I was a single kid or the lonely kid for a long time. Where at my grandmother's house, one thing, she hated us being in the room. It was like, there's a family room. Come watch TV with everyone. Yeah. You know, my mom she wanted her alone time because, again, she's in her early 20s. She's like, she don't want to deal with me at that very moment. So I had to unlearn a lot of things that I now implement in my parenting now. My daughters are 14 and 15 years old, and they just got a TV in their room like 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
That's really nice.
Because I'm really big on family time. And even now, it's like, girlies, come watch a movie with me. They don't give me no pushback or nothing like that. We might fall asleep, but I'm really big on, I'm at work where I'm running my errands during the day, and you're at school. So when are you spending time with me? You know what I'm saying?
No,
my daughters will be out the house in a heartbeat. So I say that to say the whole village thing, that's awesome. That's a great, I wish I had that. You know, I even wish I had that even right now. I don't live around family right now, but the family that I do consider family, they're my friends, and they're awesome, and they treat my daughters as if they're theirs. So
and that's a good point. You talk about family time because that's a balance too, right there. When we talk about it, I was raised in a scenario where in the evenings, my mom, my dad, you know, we had dinner together. We sat at the table. Yeah. A lot of times in this generation now, you see people, you know, they're eating in their room, they're eating to go, or they're eating before practice and eating on the go, and so. Having that type of family setting, you know, I don't have a TV in our bedroom now. Oh, wow. We just don't. And that's just kind of, you know, when you're there, you're there. But now I think mobile phones kind of taking over. Oh, yeah. That aspect.
And
too,
iPads.
as well. iPads.
I'm guilty of it.
Right.
I'm guilty.
But here's a question for you, because this is a topic that kind of spawns another thought. Say, for example, Zoe and your ex's current boyfriend, they develop a really, really close relationship, and they're spending a lot more time together than maybe you are, or the same amount of time. And then you have a scenario where then your daughter starts to view him as the new dad, like dad. How would you feel with that one, where someone else kind of takes over that responsibility as dad instead of you? You know what I'm saying?
Well, that ain't gonna happen. You know, like now one thing I do want is for them to have a relationship. If that's who's gonna be around, for sure. But one thing that's gonna be known, and he respects that as well, is that I'm always gonna be dad. And there are certain things, you know, that we are gonna bond on that you know, unless I just go AWOL, you know, there's not a situation where I could see somebody, you know, being able to come into my situation and kind of overtake me. You know, I'm going to be the one that's taking you to school in the morning. I'm going to be the one that's bathing you until she can bathe herself. I'm going to be the one that's helping you brush your teeth, wipe your behind, do all of that stuff. Like, because there are certain lines that I feel, you know, and I grew up in a situation where when I would go visit my father during the summer, when I was younger, my stepmom wouldn't bathe me. You know, my dad, you know, until I was able to do that. You know, she would never spank me. She would be like, "You in trouble, but I'm going to wait until your father gets home," because she didn't want to blur that line. True. So, you know, on my end, you know, it's more or less on my job to ensure, because I can't control what bond happens when I'm not there. But I have to make sure that when I'm with Zoe and we're together, she knows, like, hey, daddy's going to be here. Daddy's going to do this. Daddy's going to do this. Although, you know, ex-wife's boyfriend is going to be around, you know, which is fine, and you want that, you know, there shouldn't be that blurred line. Absolutely. You know, but like I said, I've witnessed at her birthday party, you know, I don't really witness them around each other because just the way things are set up. But I saw them at her birthday party and they had their little handshake and did their thing. And I'm cool with that. You know, I'm not a jealous person, you know, like in that sense. So, you know, I want there to be a relationship, but it's not going to be no blurred line. She knows who daddy is.
That's right. That's right.
But no, that's good. But that kind of segues a little bit into, you know, more or less kind of like the custody aspect, you know, and the actual time that's spent, because that plays a huge role as well. When I initially got a divorce, I really, by paperwork, I only had to have my daughter Tuesday and Wednesday and alternate weekends. And I put a checks and balance on myself, which I think my ex-wife was surprised because she knows I did like to be in those streets at one point.
That's a fact.
That's a fact. So I put a self-imposed checks and balance on myself. I said, hey, I know the paperwork says this, but I want to actually have her every day after school so that we could still have that daily bond. So I would pick her up from school. We would do something, maybe go to the park. We would go home, and to hit on what you said, we would sit down and have dinner as a family, me and her. You know, sometimes it would be Chick-fil-A, but sometimes it would be we cooking something.
Chick-fil-A is delicious, though.
Chick-fil-A is bomb. That's not a plug for Chick-fil-A. We just live in Georgia and it's bomb. But, you know, I wanted...
I'm not feeling it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no.
But, you know, I wanted to ensure, because now I was not in the house every day.
Right.
That, hey, you know, we still had daily interaction and daily bonds, so that she would grow up knowing, you know, okay, you know, dad is going to be there. And we've since then changed our co-parenting to now we have more 50-50. So we do 2-2-3. She's with me 2 days, her 2 days, and then the weekend. So it's more evenly distributed, and it gives her a chance to kind of have her day, you know, have her time. So,
yeah, I feel like too with the judicial system, a lot of times, if you're trying to look at a custody scenario between a mom and a dad, historically the numbers have shown that, you know, the courts give it the custody to the moms a lot more. A lot of times the dads just have a weekend set or a couple of days, and I don't think that's fair. No. I think that that's something that should be expounded upon a little bit more, because I feel as if that's giving an unfair advantage to the love that that child will have with their dad as well, because they're not going to see them all the time. And then that type of scenario too as well, maybe you actually have a father who maybe is more absent on purpose. I just don't, I hate that. I hate that for the system. I wish it was more of a 50-50 split type of scenario across the board. How do you feel about that too as well?
That's tough. I'm currently in a 50-50 split after my divorce. So I have him 1 week, he has him 1 week. And right now, I still live in the same area that we lived in together. He decided to move an hour plus away. So because of that, my son does not go to school every other week. On top of that, he is raising him differently in his household than I'm raising my son in my household. And it heavily affects my son, meaning when he comes back home, I kind of have to retrain in a sense. I get him Sunday nights, and my son, we call him Mozzie. Mozzie's not back to Mozzie until about Tuesday, Wednesday. I have noticed it. My daughters have noticed it. Really good friends have noticed it, from the way he talks to me to that kind of thing. Now, his father is currently with someone who has children the same age as my son. But again, obviously the way that they're disciplining, the way that they speak in that home is very, very different than the way it is in my home. So I commend you guys for having that awesome co-parenting relationship. But it doesn't always work when it's 50-50. My son is, it's causing trauma, and I can say that. I can say that openly. I can see it in his attitude, and I know that it's tough for him. Even the whole replacing parent thing, that's a trigger for me. So, and I say that because I am all about a bonus parent. I love that idea. I even said that earlier. But when my son or my kid knows someone for 8 months and is calling them mom, that's a problem for me. I've never met this person, not one time.
Wow.
Not one time. So, although I went into it with an open heart, meaning once we got divorced, I do not feel like I need to get him more than you. Let's split this thing in the middle. And now that we're here, it's affected, that decision that I made affected my son. So I do wish I wouldn't have made that decision. I am now paying for it, meaning with my son and how we're interacting, or my son's behavior, and with this expensive behind lawyer. So, so
legal fees ain't.
Yes, legal fees are crazy. Shout out to my lawyer though; she is the shit. But Yeah, that's a tough topic because again, I went into it with an open heart saying, you are dad, I am mom, and we should have him equally. And my son was just months old, you know? So that was even difficult to wean away from the breast milk and that kind of thing. But we made a decision as adults to get a divorce. This was not working for us. We need to make effective decisions as co-parents because now it's not about us. Yeah. Now we're not working anything out. It's about him. And because of that and, you know, the decisions that he's now making without me, and rightfully so, he has his own life, it's affecting our son now. So I don't know what the end goal is because my heart posture is still, you should have him 50% and I should too. But not knowing who he's around, not even knowing the county that he's in when he's not with me, you know, that is super, super tough for not a new mom. I've been a mom more than half of my life at this point. Right. So yeah, it's a really tough. It's a trigger for me, big time trigger for me. But I'm cool with the bonus mom thing. Awesome. I think it's great that you look at my son as if he is yours, but you will never be me.
So Marquita, I guess I'm going to ask you, you know, just like what's your opinion? I'm sure, you know, with, you know, your field, you come and you hear these scenarios regularly, you know, with, you know, maybe the parents or the kids. Like, how have you kind of, you know, guided to combat, you know, that, you know, the retraining, because I've heard that, you know, that they're at one parent's house for a week or so and then they come back and they have to be retrained, or even the whole bonus parent aspect and that. Like, how have you, you know, kind of guided that conversation when it's been presented to you?
So, yeah, what Tiffany was talking about is definitely something that I see or that I've heard many, many times about the whole retraining. The retraining comes from going to another parent's house, from going to a grandparent's house. Anybody that has, anytime they're going to someone else's house that has different rules and different kind of setup than your own, there's always kind of this retraining part of trying to, you know, get them back on track to the way you do things at your house. One of the biggest things, as they get older, they become a little bit more accustomed to trying to figure out, you know, what rules are for each place. I know, Tiffany, your son's 3, right?
Right, yeah.
So right now it's a little bit difficult to kind of like adjust to, okay, this is what I can do here, but I can't do this here.
Oh,
as he gets older, he starts to, he'll be able to catch on a little quicker about it. Yeah. However, I mean, one of the biggest things I always tell parents is that the parents eventually have to become on the same page with it.
Yeah.
Because if not, as a kid gets older, they'll adjust, but then they start taking advantage.
Yeah,
like kids,
absolutely.
They once they see the slightest bit of like, oh, I can do this.
Oh yeah.
It's pounce on it, and that's one of the things. So a lot of times I advise. I've seen, you know, I've done parenting sessions and done family sessions to try to get the parents to at least be semi on the same page, not necessarily have the same rules because everybody's entitled to do their own thing separately, but something to where it's beneficial to the kid. If we're looking at like, okay, the child has to be, you know, is the important piece, not about us, it's about the child. So trying to figure out how to make that work.
Okay. Oh, that's fair. That's fair. So, I mean, I guess the last thing we'll kind of can touch on is, you know, more or less, this is the fun part, the financial aspect.
Yeah.
The financial responsibilities, because, you know, normally somebody is more of the breadwinner and somebody, you know, may not be. And I know in my youth, when I was more of the breadwinner, and I'm one that can admit my faults, you know, I sometimes would hold that over my ex's head a little bit and be like, well, yo, I pay for this and I pay for that and I do that, so I shouldn't have to do X, Y, and Z, which is not right. It's not right, folks. It's not right, you know, but I've had to learn. I've had to learn that. So, you know, what would you say, you know, how have you guys handled that? And I mean, you don't have to get into the deets of your financials. I mean, I know engineers and event, you know, planners and, you know, therapists. I know pockets is deep, you know, but I'm just saying, how do you guys handle those conversations when they come up? Because it's a real conversation.
And that's a true point. You can't buy love at all.
Yeah.
And that needs to be put out there. But from an overall standpoint, you know, if you are preparing or providing a place for someone to stay, clothes, food, you know, day-to-day responsibilities, that's what you're supposed to be doing.
Exactly.
That's not something that's a plus or a given. I know with a lot of scenarios when people are estranged or are not necessarily with someone, they will provide, you know, financial support in terms of child support, right? And I really kind of hate that whole child support type of aspect because it's, say, for example, a mother or a father is just throwing money at a scenario or a situation trying to say, I'm doing enough. And you're not.
Right.
Because you're not necessarily there or being supportive. I've been blessed in a scenario where both have corporate kind of jobs and also side jobs as well. And so from a daycare standpoint, we've been able to do that and split those costs. From a mortgage standpoint, being able to kind of split some of those costs and things of that nature. But daycare is expensive, y'all.
Man.
Ooh,
I didn't know
Jesus.
this.
Like college.
Ooh.
Like,
That's
this is
why I didn't do
crazy.
it.
Tuition.
It really is. Like, I was saying we can go buy a Bentley or something,
Yeah.
like, just to have it. But
And it's a weekly thing.
it really
Like,
is.
I'm paying again.
I used to have to pay even if the school was closed. It's
Closed.
still
Exactly.
Yeah,
Oh.
you still have to pay it. It's wild.
It's tuition.
Yeah,
It's getting
it's
you ready
It
for
really
tuition,
is.
guys.
It really is. And so I say, I think that each person scenario is different. Some people, say the mom doesn't work, the dad works, or vice versa. People have different scenarios, but I do think if that's your responsibility, you brought a child into this world, you should actually support them and not necessarily throw money at the scenario, but provide them all the things that they need and have a better life than you had.
Yeah, I agree, Terrence.
growing up.
Because I've had people that I've dated, they're like, well, you have 50-50 custody. Why do you even pay child support? And I'm like, it's my child, yo.
Right.
Like,
Are
I
you
mean, I get it.
crazy?
Like, well, first of all, I'm like, get out of my pockets. Are we able to go out on a date? Are we able to do the things that we want to do? So
Right.
you shouldn't be concerned. Am I saying, oh, I can't do this because I got my child support? No, I'm not saying that. But at the end of the day, if I'm caring for my child, and it's not about who. I mean, by the state of Georgia, it's who's the higher earner, but it doesn't matter. I mean, I'm caring for the child as though I were still in the household, and if it's not hurting me, why should you even be concerned about it? But it's a responsibility, like you said. You chose to bring a child into the world, so you should, financially contribute to the raising of that child.
That's true.
I have a question for you. So you mentioned you dating, right? Let's say you started dating someone that has children. And that person, it may not be on child support. Or maybe they are on child support. Are you okay with... Okay, let me ask this first question. If Zoe's mom asks you for extra money, would you give it to her?
Aside from when I'm giving her in child support,
Yeah.
she got a man, don't she?
That's my
So
question.
he-
So
oh.
with that being said,
Ooh, see, I got a point about this.
with that being said, now
Yeah.
flip the scenario. So now you're now with someone, right? And would you be okay with her asking, let's say it's track rehearsal or something tomorrow that the kid needs something right then and there, and they just can't reach out, or they can't reach out to the other person. Are you okay with paying that? Are you okay with your girlfriend asking this person for money, knowing that she got you, or
It's kind of a double standard.
It is.
right?
I mean, would I be fine? You saying so? Would I be fine with her asking like her dude for money or asking?
Yeah.
Me? Oh, I mean that's the daddy, right? I mean,
What if it's not kid related?
Oh.
Because what Zoe's mom's asking for, it should what you're
Oh.
paying for child support it should cover it.
yeah.
But she's saying,
I need,
can I get X amount for this really fast,
and it's not kid related.
and it's not kid related.
No bueno. Sorry, I don't.
You would say no.
And I have scenarios too.
I'm kind of a jerk.
But I have some friends too, and this is multiple people have this scenario. I have a scenario where one of my friends had a child's mother ask for more funds, and the person he was with at that point in time got a little upset about the fact that she was asking for more money for their child, and he was like, "That's my kid. If he needs another $300 a month, I'm gonna give that
Right.
to him because that's my kid, and that's none of your business actually, because it's not your money."
Yeah.
And so I feel as if scenarios such as that are not necessarily anybody else's responsibility. You shouldn't. You can have an opinion about it, but you can't really get upset if someone else is going to actually contribute when you can't,
Right.
or when you didn't.
Right.
That's why I feel like the bonus parent should be involved because of that type of scenario. There should be a level of comfortability. And I'm not saying ask, my ex for money. You bill me X amount of years, you better give me.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that that bonus person should be as involved or more involved with the child in helping and that kind of thing, because finances is not your thing. That's between me and this person.
Yeah.
So help where you can help out at. You know what I'm saying? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
True.
It depends though, like between bonus parent and somebody that the other parent is dating. I think sometimes those are just two different roles.
No, I
And
agree.
it just depends on kind of
Right.
what that looks like for them.
She just wanted money for a trip to Essence, I heard.
Oh.
So
That's
what it was.
Oh, not Essence.
No.
Oh wow, yeah, that's wild. But that's actually a solid one and a good segue because what we're going to talk about in our next episode is actually dating as a parent.
Ooh.
Both single and married.
Okay.
Right. And we all have the opportunity of dating in Atlanta, which is a whole different ball
Shoot
game,
me.
But we're going to definitely touch on that on the next episode. So hopefully today you guys were able to get a few nuggets, some gems that you can take, with your particular responsibility of parenting. And we just ask you to tune in next week and check us out. Once again, this episode was sponsored by William Spice, a season of blends. We ask you to support Black businesses at all time.
Absolutely.
And please tune in next week for our titled episode, Dating While Parenting.
And don't forget to follow us on Instagram.
True.
Boom. I need to get on top of that. I'm always
It's
thank you
okay.
for keeping me
It's
on that.
okay.
I'm going to get used
It's
to
all
it.
right. It's
Follow us
okay.
on Instagram, the Parental Advisory Podcast. So thanks for tuning in. We look forward to speaking with you next week, and y'all have a good one.
Yes. Peace out.